Hello, I'm here with Robert Tettero, one of my fellow shaman friends and a stress prevention expert. And we were just calling on all our allies and guides right before this call to help us get the speakers and the sound working good. And we got it all done right to the last second. And we're jumping on live here now. And that's the power of asking for help. And we could have got all stressed out about it, right, Robert? We could have got panicky and freaking out, but we didn't. And we called on the unseen forces that work with us for help. And they really just did it all by magic. Right?
Yes.
Well,
because I'm full of wires here, all these wires, different screens. So I'm like, all right, wait, hold it. I was tuned into a different frequency.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So Robert, just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what you do and who you work with.
Yeah, sure. I've been doing this for 35 years, and I've been guiding anybody that has come knocking at my door. Now I'm working more with entrepreneurs and business owners now. It has something to do with the motivational factor. Somehow they know, they invest and they want their money's worth. They really do their work. I never held people as accountable as I should have, to take responsibility, the ability to respond and take action. So I've been guiding them in unraveling their patterns that keep reoccurring, situations that they continuously fall back into, and to get them to figure out where these specific patterns are rooted in and to help them dissolve it. Mm-hmm. And I use different methodologies. One is breathwork, known as breathwork. I call it conscious energy breathing because that's really what it is. It's about raising your frequency. If you want to get anything done in life, you want to raise your frequency. And I use mindset strategies because I want to help people change their mind. If we're always operating from what we have learned, we're not going to learn anything new. And I use my shamanic teachings, obviously. I've been apprenticing with a Native American shaman for more than 16 years. And over 30 years, I keep bringing groups to the United States, to the Southwest, on an inner journey, the shamanic journey, to sort of get back to the elementals, Yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, and we do similar work, and that's the work of the shaman, is really helping the client to go deep into the interior realms of themselves, deep into their subconscious, to rewire it, repattern it, see what's even in there. Because I remember, when I first started doing deep dive work with shamanic work, 30 years ago, you didn't even know. You would see things when you would journey into yourself that you never saw before. Like, you didn't know you had this pattern. You didn't know you had this blind spot. You didn't know that this was a problem getting in your way. And the subconscious is so sneaky. And when it comes to stress, because I want us to talk about stress and how you help us to not stay in stress vibes, like stress is the frequency as well as calm is the frequency. So tell us more about how you help people transform that frequency of stress and stay out of it.
Yeah, and there's so many things. There's, if we can stress about anything, really, we'll create a problem out of nothing, out of thin air. And it's like, what are we doing? But I call it being at the whim of what I call our life stress blueprint. Mm-hmm. These are things we don't have any control over. It's because we were conditioned that way. From a shamanic point of view, I call it indoctrination. We're indoctrinated that way. There's no other way. We're born into a system, into a family dynamic, and we have to abide by their rules until we get old enough to start thinking whether or not these rules have any validity in the present moment. I grew up with my father, who came out of out of the Second World War. So, I had a whole Second World War mentality, always looking behind my back. Somebody's going to take my happiness, want to rob me of my happiness and my welfare. And my father used to say, I can count my friends on one hand. You know, and I was like, well, that's really living in poverty, isn't it? So, yeah, stress was so familiar to me. I saw my father stress out continuously. He had a high-strung job. Luckily, by the way, because I really worked the other way around, I didn't burn out because of being caught up in chasing money.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any ambitions, really. I would get my father so angry if I tell him, no, I don't have any ambitions, Dad. He'd get really, really angry at me. But I
Because
didn't.
stress is like a pattern that you should be in, right? Like, because being indoctrinated into stress, if you're not stressed, that's a problem. Like, that's an old pattern or a generational mindset as well. I just want
Yeah.
to get the audience involved too. Thanks for watching, and let us know some old patterns that maybe your family triggered within you around stress in the comments. I'd love to hear some comments. Robert, keep going. Tell us a bit more about how your dad, got upset. It would stress him out that you weren't stressed.
He was, it was survival. He was in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
When I finally started making money, he asked me, at what age did you become financially more successful? And I was like, well, 33. And he's like, oh, that was exactly the same age when I finally had a good income. So all that time, he's just struggling, trying to maintain a family with 4 kids. It was
Mm-hmm.
really tough for him. But I didn't, I started work, I didn't have anything else to do. So I went into management consulting. I studied business. So I went into management consulting and I worked for some pretty high projects in the steel industry, for instance, in Luxembourg. Now, let me tell you, I was so disenchanted that one thing I could say really saved my life is because I could not stay anywhere where I didn't feel happy. I just couldn't. It just, you know,
It caused
created
you
such
stress, did it
friction in my
not?
body, and I would just feel, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I was out. I said, I'm not going to do this. But then I needed to figure out what else to do in my life. So then I took the spiritual path, and it took me about, well, a good 8 years, of a deep dive. I've read hundreds of books. I followed every single course that you could possibly think of. I left Europe because Europe was just, culturally choking me up. And, interesting, when I landed in the States, for the first time in my life, I felt free. And somehow I could connect that with the very essence of what, the land of the free, of what the United States really represented. Everybody fled out of Europe because of religious persecutions that were going on. So they were
Mm-hmm.
running away from authority, from
Yeah.
governments that were restricting them, from religion that were trying to convert them to Catholicism. So when I landed there, it was like coming home. I felt so familiar. I felt so free. From one day to the next, all my allergies had disappeared. All the stress was just gone out of my body. It was just unbelievable because I was always in survival mode.
Right. Yeah. And so that's the thing with stress that you're touching on there, is how stress causes, the body to react, uh, and you think it's something else. You try to blame everything else for your sickness, for your disease, for your toe ache, like why your foot hurts or something like that, instead of looking inwards into what is it that's causing you friction, what is triggering you, why are you stressed, like why are you in survival mode. And that's really one of those subconscious patterns that we don't even know we're in survival mode.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So true. So true. And left unchecked on the long run, it leads to burnout. And
Yeah.
I have worked with so many clients, high strung, overwhelmed entrepreneurs that just completely burned out. Even my brother, my oldest brother, he went into the full scale burnout. And when I ask these people, how did it get to that point? Honestly, they tell me they don't know.
Yeah. Well,
They're
tell me
like, I
what
don't know.
burnout looks like too, because sometimes it's a common word that's used. I'd like to know what your definition of what burnout looks like.
It's like they're depleted of energy.
Yeah.
The body is not functioning normally anymore.
Mhm.
The body doesn't want to. It just doesn't want to join the party because all these people believe that thriving under pressure was normal. They normalized it. Yeah, I thrive well under pressure. I hear that constantly. And I'm always telling them, listen, if you continue that way, you're only using your physical and your mental capacities. But on the long run, your body's going to say, no, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, and so then, so this like your brother, you were saying, experienced burnout. What did he do when, like afterwards? Like what was the
Well, since he's been overdoing it, he's been overcompensating, going against the grain continuously for years. It's going to take a while to readjust because the body is low frequent, and since we've been depleting our energy source, and since we've been abusing our bodies, it really takes a while to get the body to go along with this again, to finally ease out, to let go of all the stress symptoms. So you feel completely exhausted. It can come with panic attacks because you just don't have any control over the resistance you had in the past. Because
yeah.
you're so depleted, there are moments when you are so drained, you could be lying in your bed. And what happens is whatever it is you've been pushing against or repressing all your life, all of a sudden surfaces. And what do? Oh my God. We hold our breath. Why? Because what we're actually unconsciously doing is trying to repress that feeling that wants out. It
Yeah.
literally is trauma healing. And we're not aware that we're doing that.
And
But it's
also
like,
we're drugging it too. Like some people call that anxiety because like all of a sudden a feeling wants to come up to the surface. I'm not sure if you agree with this, but
yeah, absolutely.
then they go to the doctor and get a prescription to numb that feeling instead of letting it process through and leave their body, or
Yeah,
talk to somebody like you who knows what they're doing to
yeah,
help
yeah.
them move through it. But
No, absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
So again, I keep meeting still today, keep meeting people that are on medication,
Mhm.
and it only eliminates the symptoms. It doesn't go get you to the root cause. So
Yeah.
any moment at all, in a moment when you're not paying attention, it could just be triggered by any external thing, and that panic attack will surge again, and you'll be hyperventilating and wondering what the hell's going on. You have no clue what is
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
But it's all the stress that you've been harboring, that you've been repressing with a valve that has been shut. You know, we need to slowly but surely, that's why I use energy breathing. We need to open the valve a little to help that energy start moving again out of your body, because we're in such a constricted state that
Mhm.
we're not even breathing normally anymore.
Yeah. I remember at the office, and because I did force myself to stay in the office, even like I found ways to be happy. Like I would create ways that would make me feel happy. And I found ways to manage the stress. And I have, you know, I hear my people tell me this a lot too, is I have a high tolerance for pain. So yeah, until I break down, until my skin gets scratched off of my body or whatever. But I remember I would just push myself through no matter what. Like, and just keep scratching, keep putting the cream on to keep me going into that office. And I would remember somebody coming into the office to give me more work, like to pile more onto me, because I was good at getting stuff done and delegating, and I would just stop. I couldn't even take a deep breath. Like I couldn't talk and breathe at the same time.
Yeah, right.
And it was kind of like my body's way to show me that there's a problem here. But I kept ignoring it, of course, because I had a 6-figure career. I had I got myself into a career that kind of was, people would think I was crazy if I got out of it, and they did when I did. They didn't understand, why would I not want to do this anymore?
Right. I have a great story. I had one client. Now she was making a hell of a lot of money a week, hell of a lot of money, but she was so unhappy. So don't come knocking on my door to ask what you should do. I'm like, find another job. And she kept coming to my trainings. And in Amsterdam, you have these herenhuizen, which were old silos where they would have all their goods for trade, stocked up. But they have these really high stairs going up, and they're from really hard stone, like basalt stone. And after God, I think it must have been a year and a half, we're walking on the break. We're walking down the stairs to go for lunch. And I look at her. I said, hey, listen, have you finally decided to change jobs now? Haven't you had enough? And she's like, no, I don't think. And she went, she fell down those stairs and she was lying on her butt on the sidewalk. So I went down and I just smiled at her and looked down at her. And I said, well, how about it? She's like, yes, I promise I'm going to quit my job now. I mean, Spirit just gave her a nudge and said, look, you're not going to last long if you continue this,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, thank you, Spirit. Thank you. He
Yeah.
intervened for me.
Yeah. How many in the audience have had something like that happen where, you keep pushing yourself, and then an accident comes to actually like throw you out of commission so that you can't work? That's another way that our allies and spirit guides, our body like creates things for us to stop doing. Last week alone, I was pushing. Okay. I was pushing a bit the last 2 weeks, but I was having a good time while I was doing it. Like I was enjoying everything around it. And I was working with new clients and having a good time. But I also made a decision to double up on some kind of entertaining thing. Like I had 2 parties in one day. That's where I overdid it. Like that's where it caused me to be out of commission last weekend, like laid out on the couch, too much energy. I was processing too much information. I never gave myself a time to integrate all the good stuff that was going on. So there's other ways that you can be loving what you do, but you can also be pushing yourself out of commission too.
Absolutely. And so one of the important things is to maintain the alignment, of your purpose, to maintain aligned, because the energies on this planet, the frequencies are so high. I notice for myself that if I'm not in alignment, things happen continuously, so it just keeps pulling me back to my conscious awareness, where I am forced to continue to ask myself, is this appropriate right now? Do I need a break right now? Is this something that I want to do right now? To be more conscious of the things that I'm doing.
And Pao was just saying, like, the internet got cut off at one of her jobs, so she would quit the call center.
Perfect.
I remember one time at the firm, the whole servers got hacked at Thanksgiving on a long weekend, and it shut down the whole office for like a month.
Perfect.
People
How good is that?
You couldn't even work. right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is awesome. It was
Yeah.
just like something out of the blue that forced me to move into a different direction. And if you can click it, that's the mindset shift, right, Robert, is thinking like a bad thing, giving it a positive reframe. How do you think of that?
To give it a what?
A
A
positive
positive.
reframe, like an accident, falling down the stairs. It's a good thing, like it's not a bad thing.
When you realize, this is what I always say to all my clients and continue to say to myself, I'm always in the right place, in the right time, involved in the right activity with the right people. So even if an experience doesn't turn out the way you might have expected, what was the lesson I was supposed to learn there? Because I'm always in the right place, in the right time, involved in the right activities. So
Yeah.
negative experiences don't exist for me. There's just lessons learned. So I keep aligning, and keep inquiring. What is it that makes me feel this way right now? Get close to yourself, come back to your center, center, purpose driven. Everything changes. When you trust that, when you really trust that, there's nothing you have to worry about. Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of your mission and my mission is to help people to remember that, right? To help people to remember
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
keep ourselves remembering it as well. Like we have to
Absolutely.
consciously be reminding ourselves. It's a daily practice. And so I was hoping you'd get to share with the audience a little tip or something about the breath work that we could use when you're in the heat of the moment and you're having stress, or something that you brought to share with us for a few
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. Absolutely. By the way, the breath is the absolute essential in everything what I do. It's really the fundamentals of success and maintaining your body. 70% of our toxins are released through our breath. So if you're not even breathing properly, and usually we're not breathing properly because of stress, the more stress we experience, the more we go into contraction. So one thing I would give everybody to do is, for the next year, observe your breath.
Really?
Okay, we'll make it easier for yourself. In the next week, just observe your breath and see what you find out. Observe your breath, become the observer, and you will learn so much. So that's one thing. The other thing is, breathing is ancient, right? It's also used in shamanic practices, tantric practices, all forms of yoga. It is used in all the martial arts. So it's ancient. And remember, breathing is life. So when you have an open breath, you're connecting with spirit. So what you're actually doing through your breath, what are you doing? You're appraising spirit. You're actually honoring the gift that spirit gave you to be able to experience this three-dimensional holographic reality. When you realize the power of your breath and maintain your conscious awareness of moments when you are not breathing, very often I give somebody a compliment and I'll notice immediately they hold their breath. It's like they block it. And then exactly they don't have a very high, sense of self-worth. They block it off. Anyway, so what you can do, and if you join my masterclass tomorrow, I'm actually going to do a 20-minute full breathing meditation. So you can join me.
Yeah.
It's a really wonderful opportunity. And during the free 3-hour masterclass, I'll explain all the different aspects of our subconscious conditioning that could be sabotaging our lives, and to liberate yourself from that indoctrination process. From a shamanic point of view, we recapitulate our lives and let go of everything that has tied our soul in past experiences that weren't that positive, where we needed to learn from, but that we didn't experience as being positive. So what you can do, you can do that as a daily practice. It's a breathing meditation. Now, just to start off, you want to you can do it sitting down or lying down. But the thing is, when you do a meditation, you actually want to maintain consciousness and not fall asleep. So it's better you would sit down, keep your spine straight, close your eyes. You can put a really nice meditative music on the backdrop. And I would advise you to start breathing through your mouth, in and out through your mouth. The only reason why I'm telling you to do that is so that you just charge yourself with some more energy. And that would look like this, through our mouth. That's it. The only moment where you're making any effort at all is on the inhale. If you inhale properly, you let the exhale expand on itself, like a leaf falling from the tree, or you throw a tissue up in the air and it just gently floats back down. So that's what you want to do. The moment you've exhaled, you immediately inhale again, thereby connecting your inhale with your exhale. So that would look like this. Now I'll just show you. Now look how I can expand my breath. This is the space within which I reside. But remember, I've been doing it for 35 years, But if we're breathing like this, I mean, what do we expect? This much money, this much health, this much love relationships, this much, if you want more, breathe it in, right? Breathe it in.
Yeah.
The more you breathe,
Yeah.
the more
I love
open you
that.
are, the more receptive you become. So you
Yes.
start off breathing like this and breathe like that for about 5 minutes. When you feel a little bit of pins and needles going on in your hands, you might feel a little dizzy. Slow down, really slow down your breath. Right, that's slow. Then you go into a nose breath, a nose breathing. Okay, and it has to be so gentle that you hardly feel the air going through your nose, through your nostrils. So you just close your mouth, you still breathe in a connected way. Normally speaking, you would breathe through your belly if you're doing yogic practices. There are so many different forms of breathing, but I am asking you to fill your lungs up fully so that the chest expands. And why? Because we want to connect you again with your heart. We want to create mind-heart coherency, because in very many disciplines, we always talk about the Trinity, like in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, mind, body, spirit. But what happened to the heart? Right? The heart is the most essential part of our whole bodies. In fact, math heart science has uncovered that our hearts actually are an oscillator. They create so much more electrical energy and electromagnetic energy that our heart becomes an oscillator. It is a magnet. So anything you want in life comes through whatever it is you desire and the strength within which you put yourself in the picture of that, what you want, and your heart will create the force needed to get it to you, to attract it onto you. That's why I always say to people, whatever it is you want from the world, it is already on its way to you. We don't have to do anything. There is something you have to do, but not struggle, right? And get into stress mode and survival mode, because that's just not the way. That's
It
not the
closes
way.
down the magnet. It repels. It repels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because what you're actually saying is that willing is not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Robert, that
So then
was
you have to
so
fight again.
awesome. That was so awesome. And your masterclass, what's the date of it and the time?
That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, July
Tomorrow the
11th.
11th, and it's at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
1 p.m. Eastern Standard
1
Time.
p.m. Eastern time. Yeah,
Yeah.
sign up there on manalifesource.com/home too, and I will send you a Zoom link for anybody that is interested. And that's in the masterclass, we'll do a whole full breathing meditation as well, so that you can experience the effect of an accumulated energy in your body.
Awesome. That's going to be awesome. I wish I could make it myself, but I'll catch the next one. And I'm going to put that link in the comments where you're watching this episode. And Robert, one last thing. We got to connect more, like just the resonance between us and the shamanism and the breathing and the meditation. It's just
Absolutely.
a pleasure to talk with you. I have such a good time. And I was on Robert's podcast maybe a couple months ago. So I'll share that link as well in the comments.
Yeah,
You can
do
check
that.
that out.
Do that. Yeah.
We had a great conversation. And the thing is we relate stress. Everyone is stressed. Even the spiritual seekers, even the people who don't think they're stressed. There's always time to come back to yourself and to expand more into what you can hold, what you can have, what you can expand into. And
yeah.
the next level.
I truly believe that there is no reason truly for anybody to stress. I think that life was meant to be easy. So, so I do choose the path of least resistance. So when I have a lot of even people, when they're just resisting, when they're being difficult, when it's like, why don't we schedule a meeting on another day? Or I just completely drop it because I just don't believe in stress. I really don't. And get some people on board that, are willing to support me in my doing and being completely.
Yeah. Well, that's a strong position and a perfect alignment to hold, because then you're holding that other people can come into that field and learn from you.
Right.
And that's how we'll change the world, is people have to stand into that decision, that choice of, I'm just not going to get stressed anymore.
Yeah. Just like you said in the interview that I had with you, when you said, yeah, I want to, I want to cheer on, cheer for the people that I'm leading, and that my clients that come work with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to cheer them on, to inspire them.
Encouragement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How many people, there's so many people out there that aren't getting encouraged into doing the work that they're meant to do. They're getting told not to do it.
Yeah.
Stay stressed. Don't do it. You need the money.
I have plenty of people in the networking groups. They're like, no, but I thrive under pressure. And, one of my talks is called The Hidden Toll of Thriving Under Pressure.
Yeah. That'd be great. Well, I can't wait to hear you. And Robert and I will be at a summit next week. And I think you're coming in the audience. I'm going to be talking.
I'm coming in the audience, yeah.
So
love to hear you again. Yeah. And
yeah.
definitely connect with you, because we have so much more to share.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm so grateful for the audience that's come to watch live. And in the comments, just hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.